Hello and welcome to Discovering Grays Lake, unveiling the stories and people that make our town so unique. I'm your host, David Wool, and I'm thrilled to bring you this new podcast that explores fascinating stories and experiences of local business owners and community leaders, right here where we call home. Grays Lake Rehabilitation Center is a community-based private practice physical therapy provider. Do you know they have 13 clinical providers with various levels of specialties, including orthopedics, sports, neurology, vestibular, geriatrics, pelvic floor, and aquatic? What? Did I just say they have a pool? Well, they do, and it's the largest indoor warm water pool in Lake County, featuring 2 underwater treadmills and swim currents. And recently added clinical treatment specialties, in layman's terms, shockwave. They have both radial and focus units that are the newest tool in regenerative medicine, available to everyone. They pride themselves on the most current and up-to-date specialized care to keep you moving. If you're looking for physical therapy, make sure to see our friends at Grays Lake Rehabilitation. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Discovering Grays Lake. I'm recording today once again from Agora on the corner of Center Street and Atkinson. A big shout out to Luke and the staff here for letting us record. We appreciate you guys. So if you guys are looking to get your house out of the, your business out of the house for a day, for a week, and even a lifetime home, Agora Co-working here is a great place to go. So come over, talk to Luke and the staff. They're great people and can help you out. So thank you guys. So today, I've been after you for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, for the podcast.
I've been dodging you a little bit.
That's just true. Yeah, every time I walk into emails and something, you turn your head just a little bit. But Mark Willhite.
Yes.
So you are, what is your title at Strang?
So I am currently the general manager, but also a funeral director. So I help families with arrangements and things like that as well.
How in the world does someone get into that, first of all?
You know, first college I went to was University of Iowa.
Okay.
My first semester I had an anatomy class, talked to the professor, and he kind of talked to me about it. And at that time, where I grew up in the Quad Cities, there was a small junior college that had just started a program for mortuary science. So I was like, well, I might as well try it, see if I like it, and if I don't like it, I can get out. So
Okay, so with what you do, there's obviously stigma of people, or if they don't understand, or that it's kind of a weird thing. So like going to college and you tell your friends what you're doing, do they look at you?
Kind of a combination of, wow, that's really weird, but also like, I think you'd be good at it, Mark.
Really?
Like that type of thing, yeah. My dad always said I had the mortuary, the funeral director look. He's like, you look like you could be a funeral director, Mark.
Is that a compliment?
I don't know if it's a compliment or not. Maybe he knew a lot of good-looking funeral directors. I don't know.
Right. Well, in the Quad Cities, it's famous for good-looking funeral directors, I think. So you, I just recently there. What town did you live in?
So I lived in a really small farm town called Sherrard. So we only had like 600 people in the town, but we were just outside of Moline, Rock Island area.
Yeah.
So I ended up moving into Moline once I got a job and working in Rock Island. So.
Okay, so after you, so you go to college for that. Obviously, you liked it, right? So after you graduate, then what do you do?
So you do have to pass a boards test through the state of Illinois. So you can get your apprentice license after that now. But when I was going through it, you could actually get your apprentice license ahead of time. But now you have to pass the boards to actually get your apprentice license.
Okay, it's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, so once you get your apprentice license, you have to work for a year at a funeral home or under a funeral director to learn how to embalm, how to meet with families. And then after that, you just pay your money to get your full-time license. So.
Okay, so from Quad Cities, how do you end up here in Grays Lake?
So there is an association in Illinois called the Illinois Funeral Directors Association.
Okay.
So I gave them $50 and 50 of my resumes, and they send it out to 50 funeral homes.
Is that's a good deal, right?
Yeah, that's a good deal. And if you get hired by one of the funeral homes that your resume went to, they give you your $50 back. So
interesting.
Yeah. So Strang's was one of the places I interviewed, and I thought Grays Lake was a nice fit because I'm more small town. My wife, who I wasn't married at the time, but we were getting married, wanted to be closer to the city, and I was like, well, this is a kind of a good go-between.
She didn't say which city, so now we're right in the middle.
City. She said Chicago, but I was like, well, it's close. It's only an hour out. So,
right.
Yeah.
It is good. It's a good spot. So,
yeah.
How familiar are you with the history of Strang?
So History of Strang, I actually did a historical society, had me do a little meeting this was probably last year or 2 years ago maybe.
Okay.
And I did that, so I researched quite a bit. So
yeah, because I think people in Grays Lake that I giggle because I've been here forever, and my parents, we were talking like my parents are friends with Dave Strang and hung out. But for people that aren't really familiar, if you don't mind, just kind of a brief little history.
Yeah, so they did not own the original general furniture store. They actually bought it from someone else, but that's how they kind of started. They were furniture makers, and so they bought that. And then back in those days, a lot of these, especially small towns, the furniture maker or cabinet maker made the casket. So they just kind of developed as also, hey, we might as well just run the whole funeral then for you. So that's how they kind of started out.
And where was that? Where was their first place?
It was actually down by where First Draft was.
Okay.
They had a store. I think the building might be torn down now, but it was down around there. And then they eventually went over to Center Street on Center Street. So when you go down Center Street, I think it's the barber shop now.
Yes, because we were talking because they have some chimney things in there.
Yeah, so if you look at the very top, it still says Strang 1895 or something. So that
shows you how much I pay attention.
Wow. It's not something you would look up and necessarily look for, but
right.
Yeah, so they did that. And to be honest, when I was researching it, I found they were trying to sell furniture more than they were trying to be funeral directors. Like, obviously, we probably weren't a big enough town to really make much money off of funerals.
Sure.
So I remember there was one ad that said, buy your piano from Strang. And that's what, and then they also said, also we do caskets type of thing. So
a little side hustle.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it probably wasn't until I would say probably like the 30s and 40s where they really started to realize, it's more beneficial just to be a full-time funeral home.
Right.
We're taking a quick break just to say hello because everybody knows Nano. And Nano knows real estate. And actually, I believe that's the name of her Instagram page. So if you're looking to buy a home, sell a home, or know somebody in the market for a home, contact Nano from Baird & Warner. She's a Grayslake girl helping out Grayslake people.
So. And I'm sure as more people are moving here.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the population started to grow a little bit. And now what are we at, 30,000 roughly? Something
crazy.
Like that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So do you know when they moved over that? Because they've been at the 120 spot for a long time, right?
Yeah, it was about 1958 is when they built that one. I think they fully became open around 1960 as an actual full-time use. So.
Wow. So it's been in the Strang family then for...
Yeah. So Dave's grandpa was the one who first started it. And then his dad took over, and unfortunately Dave's dad died pretty young. I think Dave's dad was only like 61.
Oh, really?
So Dave was 34-ish when he took over.
Yeah.
And he ran it until the day he passed away.
Wow. And that hasn't been a whole really...
No, I think it's only been about 10 years since Dave passed.
Yeah, I have no concept of time.
Yeah, and then Richard was his business partner, Richard Gaddis, and he took over running of it, even though Dave had a brother named Tom who still owned it technically. But Tom had some mental deficiencies, so Richard he took care of it for Tom. So, and then when Tom passed, Richard took over fully.
Yeah, I like Richard a lot too. He's a really nice guy. Okay, so then what year do you come along in there?
So I started in 2002. Okay. I was pretty young, 25. So, but I probably got named general manager about 2 or 3 years later.
Okay.
So yeah, I've been pretty much running it quite a bit for the last, and especially now, Richard's pretty much semi-retired, so I pretty much run the funeral home now.
Wow. A lot of crazy things. We were talking before because, unfortunately, with my mother passing, my sister passing, that both of everything was done at Strang. And one of the things that I talked to my father about after that was, asking him to consider to, prearrange everything, because as a family goes through that, it was really hard on us. And the last thing you want to do when you lose your mother or your sister or anybody in your family is to come make these arrangements, right?
Yeah, definitely it is a big time benefit to at least prearrange. So there's different options with how you can do that. Some families just come in and say, hey, I just want everything written down so that when I pass, my kids can just come in and say, what Mom pick?
Okay.
Some families want to prepay for it, so you can prepay for it. Basically, the benefit of that is you're paying today's prices for future services, because once you prepay for it, we guarantee everything for you without charging anything extra at the time of your passing. So even if it's 10 years from difference and our prices have gone up quite a bit, it doesn't matter. You've already paid for it, so we're guaranteeing that. Wow. So that's also a big benefit for a lot of families.
Yeah, and your business has to be a huge portion that has to be communication. And I can't imagine
on a day-to-day you have a very special job.
Yeah, it is very, I mean, obviously different happenstance for each individual. I mean, some people, my mom's 93. Obviously, I knew this day was coming. It's a little bit easier to kind of roll with that kind of grief, whereas you have some people like, it's my son, it's my daughter. They were only 20. They were in a car accident or something like that. Very, hard to kind of wrapping your head around the idea of their past. Now you have to wrap around your idea around, hey, I've got to do this service.
Right.
So it can be very difficult.
Yes, very, very, very difficult. So obviously, every day you go to work, and it takes a special kind of person to do that.
It does. So obviously, we see a lot of young people trying to get into this business. I always say you've got to have a very strong personality. Like you've got to be able to. I hate to say command a room. That's not necessarily what you're doing, but you have to be able to come in at a cold situation, not knowing what you're getting into, and be able to guide everyone through this process. So it can be definitely something that you develop over time, but it's definitely you have to have a certain inner strength in order to kind of do this.
Yeah, I think inner strength is an understatement, and somebody with the personality to be able to adapt to, because I'm sure some people are just completely devastated, probably can't even speak.
Yeah, I mean, it runs the gamut of feelings. Obviously, some people can be very angry. I mean, especially when it's a sudden situation or a situation where unfortunately, some sort of substance abuse is involved, where there's a lot of mixed feelings of I'm sad they're gone, but also I'm angry that they did this to themselves.
Right.
So it can be very difficult, and some people tend to lash out, and so you got to be able to take some punches a little bit too.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, and people in that state probably don't care about your feelings a whole lot.
That's right.
You have to be more concerned about that.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and I want to use this talking to you in this podcast today as helping people as well as maybe informing them. I think you're a great dude, so I want to know more about you, but also helping people. Maybe somebody listens, like what are some of the decisions that you need to make? Obviously, if it's cremation, it's burial. Like, what are those big things that maybe we should be prepared for for ourselves?
Yeah, for yourselves, obviously, cremation has become a very common way of disposition compared to burial. Mm-hmm. So with burial, pretty much anyone can bury someone. So, for instance, Dave, you pass away. Your family's like, I hate him. I don't want to deal with him. But somebody calls me and they say, hey, Mark, you're friends with Dave. Do you want to help us out? I can bury you.
Okay.
But I cannot cremate you because I have no right to cremate you. Because with cremation, it's considered destruction of the body. So there's no going back. Whereas burial, if the family came back and said, you know what, we want him cremated, they can disinter you, they can cremate you. I didn't do anything wrong.
Wow.
So with cremation, it causes a lot of issues sometimes, especially with families who are not all together.
Sure.
So we need the next of kin to sign off on cremation. So by pre-arranging and pre-doing this, you can sign off on your own cremation. So as long as I have, hey, Dave Wall said he wants to be cremated, and we can go forward with cremation because he said it was okay.
Before I died.
Yeah, before
right.
he passed. Yeah.
Right.
So that's definitely a benefit. If you are out there and you are having problems with your family or you're unsure, get it at least signed off saying, I want to be cremated.
Okay. So that's a big thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I imagine that, well, anytime you deal with a big thing, whether it's a wedding, whether it's a funeral, and I'm sure funerals when somebody passes, families don't always get along.
We definitely have some families that are not happy to be in the same room together.
Sure.
And so sometimes it's not so much about, oh, mom passed and we need to take care of it. It's mom passed and I know you want this, so I'm going to do the opposite. So we have had families who have said, I'm not going to sign off on the cremation because you want it and I don't want to make you happy. So unfortunately, we are forced into doing other things. Sometimes we end up having to bury someone who wanted to be cremated.
Wow.
So hopefully it doesn't happen very often. It's pretty rare, but
right.
Usually we can talk somebody into, look, this is what your mom wanted. You're not helping yourself by doing this.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, because I think about that. So unfortunately, I've been to your facility a lot of times for personal and for, because anybody that's from town, obviously many or most use Strang right in town. Mm-hmm. So the different services you guys offer, I've seen everything from just wakes to I think that we went there and we had a wake and we had a memorial service at the same time.
Yeah, so there's quite a few different options. Obviously, you can do what we call traditional type of services where the body is present for visitation, funeral service. You can do burial or cremation afterwards for both of those. So we do have a lot of families who prefer to still have kind of that traditional service, but want cremation afterwards. It's not a problem.
Okay.
We do help families with anatomical gift donation, which is essentially there's a company in Chicago that we will take your loved one to them. They will use your body for all sorts of different things, mainly colleges is typical.
Okay.
And after 3 years, they cremate you, and then they send you the cremains back.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's, and obviously we do help with cremation. We do our own cremation at our own facility. So some funeral homes can't do that. They don't have the crematorium. Luckily, we were able to build one in our own facility, so it helps out quite a bit, especially with Hindu families. So Hindu religion is very important for them to be a part of the cremation process. So,
really?
Yeah, so they do everything in one day. So we have a brief visitation, a service, and then we go to the crematorium, and they are part of placing the body into the machine and starting the machine process up. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I could do that.
I mean, we offer it for anybody, but especially for Hindu families, it's very much an important part of the religious service.
Wow. Okay, and the other thing I was fascinated, like I know that my father still has like some of the ashes and like all different kind of memorial things, whether it's necklaces with all of that.
Are you looking for a great time right in the heart of our awesome community? Well, look no further than the Grayslake Village Center, your one-stop destinations for all things fun and fabulous. Picture this: historical downtown vibes with a mix of diverse businesses, an array of unique shops, and delicious restaurants. Many with outdoor seating, with an option to soak up the sun or shade. But that's not all. The Village Center is where the action is. And just like the weather, it's definitely heating up. There are events that take place all year round for the whole family. But now, you'll even have more options. Fill up your calendar with things to do. Also, take a stroll through Central Park, Gelatin Park, surrounding trails, green spaces, and more activities to keep you and your friends and family active all summer long. And now that the weather is warming up, dive into the Aquatic Center. Open Memorial Day to Labor Day. But wait, there is more. Visit GrayslakeVillageCenter.com to discover an incredible lineup of events that are happening every month. Be in the know. Not sure what you're waiting for, so come on down, soak up the local vibes, and enjoy the experience that's unmistakably local and uniquely Grayslake. Grayslake Village Center, where the fun never stops.
I can't imagine all of the things that are offered with that, right?
There's quite a few now, especially they now do glassware type things where they put a small portion in a glass item. So they blow heat up the glass and make a shape. Sometimes it's an ornament, sometimes it's just a paperweight, and they put a small portion of the cremains in there. We've now got a new process where we can turn it into stone.
Really?
Yeah. So
that's the weirdest thing I've heard all day.
It is weird, but it's also cool. Like
right.
the first one we had who used it, her husband loved to hike, so he did like Yellowstone and the Appalachian Trail and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And she's like, if I turn them into stone, I can just put them anywhere. And I was like, yeah, they don't care because it actually is stone. It will last as long as rock lasts. So she was like, that'd be great. I could place him at all his favorite trail spots and not have to worry about the fact that I'm spreading cremains.
Right.
I'm just putting a stone on the trail.
Wow.
So that one was really cool. Some people saw it on Shark Tank. It was on Shark Tank.
Really?
Yeah, the process. Yeah.
Wow. So that's another decision to make when you're in there.
Yeah,
right?
We've had quite a few families even bring up back, cremains that their mom was cremated back in like 2018 or something. He's like, can I do this with my mom? I was like, yeah.
Oh, so you can still do it after that too. Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So when you're talking about like the traditional, do most people do like open caskets still? Like
I would say we're probably at about 45 to 50% somewhere in there. Usually some sort of service is involved, even with cremation. Right. Some people still like to have something. Right. We call them memorial services because the body's been cremated, and then we just have an urn out typically.
Right.
Obviously, we have some families who do, hey, I just want them cremated or I just want them buried. But for the most part, most people are doing some sort of service.
Right. And I think that as far as you guys are involved in things, I had from coming to, if passed away at home, to come retrieve the body, right, do everything. So we've did everything with you guys from that point all the way through service there. And your facility there also with basement where you can have food and all the things. So that's another thing I'd like to mention, that you have the facilities for that too.
Yeah. And we do have some families that, for instance, hey, mom passed away out in California. We had her cremated out there. Can we just use your facilities? And so we just rent out the facilities for the service still. Okay. So some families still like to do that where, like I said, something happened she was from here, but she moved away to California for a while. Mm-hmm. That's where she passed, and we just want to have a service back here for her. Yeah. So we do that as well.
That's cool. You must have a lot of special relationships in Grays Lake and everywhere.
I do. I know a lot of people. I mean, I'm part of the Exchange Club as well, which is a great group to be a part of. So I know a lot of people through the Exchange Club. Just, I am a fan of going down to emails after work, so I know a lot of guys down there and stuff. But definitely, just living here for a long time and being part of the community, really. I mean, we're a major part of the community.
You are, and every event I see you at, because you personally out there working hard. And actually, I was playing racquetball with somebody this morning. I laugh because I look at the back of the shirt. I'm like, oh, there's the Strang logo. I guess I'll be talking to him later on today. Yeah. You guys are, and for a long time have helped sponsored events and sports teams and all the things across and all the company things. So it must be fun. It's interesting to have, like, we talk to people that have all these different special relationships. When you have a job that, whether it's confidentiality or really people they have to trust you a lot, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure you have 1,000 stories.
We do have quite a few stories. I mean, everything happens. Runs the gamut again from families really fighting. I mean, we've had physical fights where it becomes a little bit scary, but we've had weird things happen all the time.
I've been at a couple parties in the parking lot too.
We do have a lot of we pretend we don't see the tailgating.
Yes, I mean, I've never been there, but I've heard stories.
Yeah, we pretend we don't see it. You can tailgate all you want, but we just don't allow it inside the building. But yeah, we've definitely had. We had one that was really raucous. I mean, it was a full-on Irish wake. Like they were there for 8 hours. Partying it up. And
so what do? You just
hey, we just, that's your issue. I mean, we do ask that you clean up the bottles and stuff, so usually we put a can out there and hey, just throw them away, But yeah, that one was interesting because they started heckling the priest a little bit for the service.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
In a fun way?
Father Noack didn't take it fun, but so he did stop the service and he said, look, we can continue on or I can leave the room. So he's like, you need to stop.
So he addressed it.
Yeah, he did address it. So they calmed down. But
one thing I've seen a lot more of, and even in the past 20 years or so, a lot more celebrations of life, right?
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Which is good.
Yeah, and it's great, especially I've always said if you can get somebody to speak on the behalf of the deceased, eulogy, it really helps just, I hate to say lighten the mood, but it takes it away from how sad it is that he's gone or her gone, as to this is all the things that we loved about this person.
Absolutely.
And to tell stories. And I mean, some of the weird stories, like sometimes families have me do the service instead of a minister because they're not religious.
Right.
And I usually say, look, we're going to share a lot of stories. Nothing's off the table. I've been doing this a long time. I had a guy tell a story about how this other guy could throw his own farts like no one, I was like, so it's all there. So it's great to laugh at these. It makes it easier over the next couple of days to remember all these stories and to be able to take away from the service, not that they're gone. I mean, yes, it's a major part of it, but to know, hey, he touched everyone else's lives just as much as he touched my life.
Yes.
Hey, neighbors, this is Bill Mock with the Grays Lake Chamber of Commerce. And if you're looking for a network of hard-working, customer-focused, and generally friendly local businesses who are dedicated to helping each other succeed, then I'd like to invite you to check out and consider joining our Grays Lake Chamber. We offer our members so many ways to advance their businesses through social networking events, special event sponsorships, informative lunch and learns, and the ever-popular after-hours mixers. Come see why we say we're the new wave of business here in Lake County.
Okay, which brings up something very interesting with that, as being on both sides. Like a wedding, like a funeral, like people don't gather like they do. It must, I know for me, especially with my mother's, to watch people come through, like I was in shock, so I didn't cry like at all for a really long time, except for when it first happened. But then it's very strange standing in line and watching all these people from all different walks of her life, in a respect to come through. And I saw like the most random person that I wouldn't have in a million years thought I'd see, and I like broke down crying because it was like I don't know where I associate them in my mother's life, but it must be. It's cool for a family to see that respect given.
Yeah, and it does make, to be honest, it makes the way a little bit easier, like the grief process, to know that, hey, my dad was very important to me, and I've lost someone, but I'm not alone in this loss.
Right.
Like, my dad was so important to this one random person that because my dad passed away fairly young, he was 64, and he used to go to all these auctions. And a bunch of these people who knew him from the auctions came in, and she's like, your dad was, so funny, and I loved talking to him. He's super Democrat, I'm Republican. And we used to sit there and bicker back and forth. But,
that's fun.
And it just makes it known that my dad was funny with me and everything, but he also really touched this person enough to have them come and talk to me about it.
Right.
And it does make it an easier process.
Yeah. And I think that is the comfort, right? That's the comfort that a lot of people need. I got to go out to lunch with this 80-year-old guy that knew my mom really well, and he saw me. He's like, I got stories for you, man, but I can't tell you here. I was like, I'm totally intrigued now. When are we going out? So it was kind of funny that I went out and just to see. And I never would have talked like a lot of these people, and just to hear about like how many people respect them, and like you said, and how they touch people's lives. And anybody listening right now realize how many lives that you touch, right, in a day.
Yeah.
And at mine, I want to have people not tell stories, but have like a competition of who can remember the stupidest thing that I've done. I don't know how long we get the place, but
we've had some of them go for an hour and a half. So I mean,
Really?
we just had one. It was a young gentleman, unfortunately had special needs. That's why he passed. But even with that special needs, he touched a lot of people's lives, and all the nurses that were involved, and all the, he was through CEDAW and all those people, and everybody wanted to tell a story of how he brightened their life, and that's important to his mother, who was afraid that she was going to pass away before him and no one would be there to take care of him.
Right.
And she gets to see how much and how special he was to everybody else too.
Right. It's funny how people can be inspiring when they have no idea that they're doing it, right?
Yeah.
Which is something that we should all strive to do a little bit more. Okay, so admittedly, you haven't listened to a whole lot of podcasts, right?
No, I have not. I'm not great about it.
Have you listened to any? I should have probably started there.
See, my wife listens to podcasts, and so sometimes she'll be like, listen to this one. So that's kind of how I listen to podcasts, is usually my wife has to bring it forward for me.
It's a big time commitment.
Yeah.
And now that we're at like 100 and whatever we're doing, I said, if anybody started listening now, I don't even know what. It would kind of be cool because you could pick off like a menu of what you wanted to listen to. Yeah. So, hey, and thank you everybody listening right now, taking the time, because Mark doesn't, but that's okay. But maybe he'll find the time.
I'm very busy.
I'm very busy.
I got night calls and.
Hey, you can have like a little earbud in your ear, and I'm sure whatever you're doing, you can take care of it. So we do something we call the Grays Lake Hot Seat.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask you some rapid fire questions just to find a little bit more about you.
Okay.
All right.
The Grays Lake Hot Seat is brought to you by Joe Velez at JPV Financial. It's often said that those who fail to plan are planning to fail. Joe Velez and his team at JPV Financial create unique financial plans that address some of the most difficult challenges that people might face as they get older. No matter what stage of life you're in, having a proactive financial plan can help navigate some of the difficult decisions you'll face, helping you live your life by design, not default. Securities and investment advisory service offered through Osaic Wealth Inc. Member FINRA SIPC. Now for the Grays Lake Hot Seat. Hey, thanks, Joe.
And I had to change them. Well, I don't need to change them for you because you don't know what they are. First car you ever owned?
It would probably have to be my Ford Ranger pickup. It was bought from another farmer, and it was old. I mean, it was... God, it's 72 or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That'd be a cool truck to have.
It was a cool truck. It had no power steering, so I was not used to it, so I'm constantly like... When I got into a power steering car, my mom was like, what are you doing? And I was just like, this is how you drive.
Right, yeah, I got to power my way through it. You just let it go. Do you have a nickname?
Not that I can think of.
Not that anybody's told you.
Yeah.
Or what do they call you behind your back?
Yeah, maybe.
If you had to have you and your wife had a theme party at your house, what would it be?
A themed party. It'd probably have to be theater oriented because my wife's big into the theater.
Okay.
So I'm going to go with probably some sort of musical theater type of thing.
Okay. A place you'd like to travel that you've never been?
Australia.
Me too.
That's a big one.
I really want to go. I don't want the flight, but I would like
I
to
don't
go
want the
there.
flight either, but
I
yeah.
could snap my fingers and be there. Are you superstitious?
I am not superstitious at all.
Okay. 1 to 10, how good of a driver are you?
I would say I'm an 8 probably. Yeah, I'm a pretty good driver.
Nice. Did you play a sport or a member of a club in high school?
Yeah, so obviously small town, we had a lot of sports. So I played football, baseball, track, soccer. Basketball.
What did you say, 600 people in your town?
600 people in the town. So in order for us to have a high school, it was like 6 towns.
Consolidated
To make one high school, so.
It's funny. And people that haven't seen towns or been around towns like that, it's a totally different thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
The town has not changed much.
What is your favorite Grays Lake event to attend?
Probably the Craft Beer Fest is probably my current favorite. But I always like Grays Lake Days. I mean, it's just fun.
Right. Which now we have to call. We don't want Mary Beth to get in trouble.
Yeah, I can't
Summerfest.
remember. What did Mary Beth call it?
Summerfest.
That's right.
Yes, because now on my resume, because I DJ'd and I opened, so now on my top line of my resume is Open Summerfest.
There you go.
That's it. No explanation. So thank you to the chamber for helping me out with that. When you eat tacos, do you tilt your head to the right or the left?
I think I'd do the left.
Right.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. We just had it the other night. Yeah,
Really?
we just had tacos. Yeah, so I'm trying to I think I'd do it to the left.
First concert you ever had?
First concert was Aerosmith.
Nice.
Yeah, it was a good one.
You're sitting at Emil's. Hey, bartender, can I have a...
Tall Sam Adams.
Okay. Highest score you in bowling?
Probably we just did it over at Kriston's. That was, I think, 172 is what I ended up with.
That's good.
Yeah. Usually I'm not that good. I got a turkey, and so...
That helps.
Yeah.
Usually it depends how many tall Sammys I have and how well I do. If I'm just not paying attention at all, then I usually do a lot better than when I try.
Yeah, that's probably my best one.
That's a good one. You have a go-to karaoke song?
I don't really do karaoke very much, but if I did, it'd probably be Foo Fighters, something from the Foo Fighters, like Pretender or something.
Nice. I said that one always tells me a lot about people. Have you ever won an award?
Yeah, so I did win the Book of Golden Deeds from the Exchange Club just this year, which is kind of like their highest honor for volunteerism.
Nice.
So I did win that.
For people that don't understand what the Exchange Club does, can you help me out? Explain.
Yeah, so the main goal of our group is child abuse prevention. So we do that through different ways, mainly raising money and giving to organizations such as Mano a Mano or organizations where we feel like even battered women groups where we feel it will hopefully benefit the child abuse prevention. Obviously, we do a lot of other things too. We also do scholarships for kids.
The scholarship thing is really cool. I forget who I was talking to.
Yeah, it's ever since we did the Craft Beer Fest, we've been able to give a lot of money away. So it's a really great program. Thank you, Jack Rickman, because he's the one who kind of really started it.
Right.
But even last year, I think we gave away $8,000 just for the Student of the Year.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I forget who I was talking, but I think I came by right when you guys were done with your meeting, and the students that were presenting or got the awards were walking out, and everybody, member of that Exchange Club was standing outside, was like, "Holy shit, these kids are so cool, so talented. It's amazing."
Yeah, and then if you win Student of the Year, you can go on to our district competition.
Okay.
Which our student this year did actually win that one as well, so we got more money.
Nice.
And then you can go to national, where you can, if you win that one, you win a lot of money at national.
So and that's through Exchange Club. So our Exchange Clubs like everywhere?
Yeah, there's a lot of them all throughout the country. So.
How did you get involved with them?
One gentleman, Jerry Badrow, he came into the funeral home and he's like, "We need a member from Strang's to be a part of the group." And I was like, "Well, check it out."
Awesome.
So I started. Jerry left, though. Jerry Badrow, he moved away. I was like,
because it got you in there.
And you're moving away. So
sneak out.
Yeah. So, but it's been great. I think 2003 is when I joined. So I've been with that group for a while.
It's a really interesting group of people, and I mean that in a very nice way. But yeah, the personalities in there is a really cool mix.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I mean, my wife always says I have two sides to me. I have the funeral director side, which I'm probably projecting right now, and then I have my normal side. So I can be a lot more normal in the Exchange Club. I get a little crazy and
sure.
and weird, I guess, probably.
So if somebody wants to get involved with the Exchange Club.
Yeah, if they want to get involved, we meet every Thursday at First Draft in the upstairs at noon. If they want to just stop by and check it out, you get a free lunch. And we'll start the process of if you want to join our group, that'd be great.
That's very cool. I love it, especially when you can get like-minded people around. And I'm sure that it's a gathering of friends for a big part of it. But when you actually can gather together and help other people, that's great.
Yeah.
That's cool. What do you eat on your pizza?
Sausage and mushroom.
Last thing you ordered on Amazon?
That would be, what did we order? It was something that my wife needed, and now I can't remember what it was. It was something for the refrigerator, like one of the things that holds up all the jars broke.
Last week I had the exact same thing happen. What would we do without Amazon?
I know.
I mean, I preach to shop local, but where can you just...
Yeah, buy a piece to the refrigerator.
I get the shelf on the side for this obscure model that I have.
Yeah, unless I can steal it from another refrigerator.
Truth. Yeah, neighbors don't like me coming in their houses like that. Would you consider yourself street smarts or book smarts?
I would say I'm probably more book smart, if I had to say.
Okay. If your life was a movie, what would the title be of it?
Oh my gosh. Probably boring.
I don't think that's going to sell very well.
I don't think it would either. I mean, it's not like I live an exciting life, For
well, I mean, some of the biggest hit TV shows have been from
That's
6
true.
Feet Under.
I mean, if you ever saw the one with Jack Black, the movie where he's a Bernie. He's a funeral director. I mean, it's a true story. He commits murder, unfortunately. But prior to that, like all the funeral directing stuff is pretty interesting. It's a very good job of
really?
Showing what it is to be a funeral director.
I would say it must be weird watching TV shows like a 6 Feet Under show. That show was fantastic. I watched that. It was great.
Yeah, we don't nearly have as much drama as they did.
Right.
But
thank God.
But a lot of the aspects of just getting the funeral ready and stuff, they did a good job of portraying that. So.
Wow. Well, you fill a big need in the community, and somebody has to do it. So I love the way that you're doing it. What's the last thing you searched on Google?
It was Richard Roundtree. We were watching a movie last night called Thelma. It's about an old lady that she gets $10,000 stolen from her, and she's like, I'm getting it back. And Richard Roundtree's in it. And I thought he was Lou Gossett Jr. I was like, that's not Lou Gossett Jr., is it?
Right.
So I had to look it up, and I was like, oh, it's Richard Roundtree. That's who it is.
I forget what I was watching something the other night, and I can't watch shows if I know the actor or actress and can't place them where they're from. So I'll look and find out what movie they are because I can't. Yeah. And my 8-year-old still thinks that he doesn't believe in Sylvester Stallone. It's Rocky.
Oh, okay.
So he's really confused by Rocky as in other movies, but I mean, he believes all this stuff. So well, in real life, what do you mean in real life? What is he? He's Rocky. I'm like, oh, sorry. Yeah. Like, wait, I don't still not know how to do that. Who's the funniest person that you know?
Probably my younger brother Todd.
Okay.
He's pretty funny.
If you had to write a book, what would it be about?
It'd probably be about funeral directing, to be honest. Yeah.
I bet. We'll end with this one. What do you wish that you'd learned sooner in life?
Sooner in life. Probably how to invest my money better.
Do you know how many people say that? Which is, how are we all so stupid?
I know. I wish somebody had gone to me and said, Mark, now's the time to invest in Apple. Like, put your money in Apple now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, and I always look back and go, God, what did we do? How come to the Board of Education and everything, why didn't we have like a personal finance class to, just put this much in the S&P like now, guys, and then as you make more money, just do that a little bit more and then see what I'm sure some people did that.
I'm sure some people, and I did start early, kind of. My dad did say, hey, here's a financial planner, because when I first started the job, I was still living at home during my apprenticeship. So I was making pretty good money, and he was like, you might as well invest some of it. So I did invest early, but I mean, I could have invested a lot more.
Okay. I invested. I said, God, look there's a Corvette. I should buy that. That's good. Okay, I'll get that. Yeah, that didn't work out so well.
Didn't work out.
Yeah, but then I had to get another one and then another one. Yeah, those aren't a very good investment at all. Well, thank you for playing a couple of random questions. And I was just talking, like, what makes because obviously I'm a huge fan of Grace Lake and the way that everything goes together. I like to watch how you interact with all these other people, and we have like we've spoke of before, there's jobs that in our community that make everything go around that are very delicate, right? That need to be, and not everybody's cut out for what you do, right?
Right.
How many, is there any, I know that obviously with population, there has to be more and more funeral homes around the area, but Strang has to be one of the longest?
We are pretty old, because Strang up in Antioch, for those of you who don't know, is not affiliated with us, just the same name. So Dave's uncle actually started that one. So it started after us. Burnett Dane, they're probably up there as far as age,
right?
Because they've been there a long time. So,
okay, so in your career here, because you've been here you said since 2002?
Yeah.
Okay, so what's next for you? You see yourself?
So the next step is I'm trying to purchase the funeral home to be the owner. So it is taking a little bit long because obviously there's a bunch of steps that
I'm sure
we have to. The bank has to be okay with everything, and to get the loan for everything. So it's taking longer than I want, but it will be hopefully inevitable, and I will be the owner this year. So
right. Looking back, like going through like college, and when you're deciding this, like, would you ever have seen yourself in life like this as you go?
I didn't think I would be an owner necessarily or have the chance. It's very hard as funeral directors who don't have a family invested into it to become owners necessarily, because most of the time it's a family-run business. I mean, also a lot of corporations are starting to take over funeral homes, so that combination is. I just assumed I would be just working at a funeral home until I retire. But
right. Wow. Okay. Yeah, it's kind of cool. And it seems like every time I've been in there that all of you guys have always been like family, the way you interact with each other.
We do. We goof around quite a bit, so it's good that we have closed doors where you can't hear us joking and,
right.
and ribbing each other and everything, because we can be pretty ruthless to each other sometimes.
And I'm sure you have to be, because you got to play two different personalities through the day, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you never know who's going to walk through the door, right?
No, we never do. There are some families. I prefer families to call us first before they come in.
Right.
But definitely some people just, hey, mom just passed. Let's go to the funeral home.
Okay.
We gotta start the process. So
yeah. So you got to be on your best behavior, and then you can't be giggling and laughing when people walking in the door. So how do people do that? Like, so when you guys, it's a very strange business. Like, do you guys have like an Instagram page, Facebook page, all of these things?
We do have a Facebook page.
Okay.
So we always post the obits on the Facebook page. Okay. We also sometimes have events. So if we have a pre-need lady, so she takes care of anybody who wants to pay for anything.
Okay.
So she does events like a lunch and learn where she kind of talks about how it works, and we give them pizza and everything. And
great.
So she does that. So those are posted on the Facebook page as well.
Okay.
We don't have Instagram, although I've talked to some groups where, hey, maybe you should do something, but it's kind of weird. Like, what do I post exactly?
Right. You can't be the joke of the day, right? Or something.
What's a funeral director's favorite wood?
What is it?
Morning wood.
Oh my God. Yes, and not talking about the time of day.
Yeah.
Because there's another joke in that one as well.
It's kind of a combination joke on that one.
Right. Not sure which side you lie on there. But that's very interesting to me. So one thing that I've always talked about is as the newspaper used to be like, you get it, Taylor, you open up the obits, you find out there's so many people in our digital world that you think that everything would be great. But as the newspapers have gone away, I've missed so many funerals because I didn't know they were happening. And people have gotten crazy terrible about picking up the phone and calling people. And I know that you guys have like a site to help people know, right?
Yeah, so on our website you can actually sign up to get every single obit emailed to you. So you can subscribe to the obituaries. So we do have a lot of, I would say we have usually about 600 people who are subscribed.
Okay.
Who they'll get every obit, will be emailed to them, hey, do you know this person? That way they can be in tune to who's passed away.
Right. Yeah, it's terrible because nobody wants to call and let everybody know, right?
Yeah.
And it's only
sometimes it's hard, who do I call? What I called this person, I called Marcy. She should tell everybody.
Right.
But then they forget somebody yeah.
Right. And I've heard from people that I went to high school with going, hey, I got a call from so-and-so, and they want me to call everybody they knew and let everybody know that we went to school with them and so-and-so had passed. Yeah. But yeah, to get that information is a really
the papers charge quite a bit on some of these obits, so a lot of families are like, it's a cost that I don't necessarily need to pay for because typically online is much easier.
Right, and then I would say, well, who's reading the paper? And some people probably just get it for the obits, right?
Yeah, there are some people that do, yeah.
That's crazy. And you guys have your own thing, like when you have, because every time that I've Googled somebody, it always seems to come through your website or whatever where you put that, and people can leave comments and things on there.
Yeah, so you can go on there and just say, oh, I can't make it, or I'm so sorry to hear about so-and-so's passing. And so some people get really long with it and say, I met him through work. He was such a great guy. I'm really going to miss him. We used to get lunch together every month or something. So, and it's a great way to reach out if you can't make it, obviously. Right. So obviously people retire and they move away, but this is a way to still have them get that message to the family.
All right.
Most people have no idea what to do with their aging loved one who needs help. Well, there is a solution. A company that provides care and assistance to make your loved one feel right at home. At Right at Home, their mission statement is to improve the quality of life for those they serve. They offer extensive services: personal and companion care, safety supervision and transportation, fall prevention, dressing and bathing assistance, medical reminders, meal prep, hospice support, ambulation support, stroke recovery, Parkinson's support. The list goes on and on and on. If you have an aging loved one that needs help, call Right at Home. Most people prefer to age in their home rather than moving to an assisted living or nursing home. Right at Home can make this happen. Contact Right at Home at rightathomennlc.com or give them a call, 847-984-0103. Now back to the show.
And it's good, and it's a free service that you guys have.
Yeah, we you can put the obits online for free, and we leave them up forever. So
yeah, I've searched some stuff in there, and I'm like, holy cow, this one's been.
I think it goes back to our website started like 2007 or 8, something like that.
Right, and how valuable is that website to how many people just to go back and read some stuff? I might do that today.
Yeah,
just to go and look and see, because during the time that you actually are going through that with your family, you don't go on there and read everything.
Yeah.
But the other thing is interesting is the sign-in books. Like, those are the other things I've read. Like, yeah, it's just a very strange thing for it seems like as I'm getting older, my refrigerator has all these pictures of all these great moments, and then on the side are all the little prayer cards or the funeral cards.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a big thing. A lot of people like to have those as a memento, and obviously we can customize those quite a bit. So you can have someone's picture on there. Mm-hmm. We had one person who painted something, and they wanted her paint, her art on there. So we were able to take a picture of it and shrink it down to
that's cool.
prayer card size. So
that's awesome. Those are the things that I find that are probably in my suit pocket, hanging up in my closet right now. Yeah. It's either a wedding thing or a funeral thing. Yeah. Just go inside the pocket, and there's, unfortunately, they're usually prayer cards that I forgot for like that. Okay, so as we wrap up things, I like the information that you gave. That I think there's a couple things I had written down. Okay, what is the biodegradable? Or what do you call that?
There's a couple different versions now.
Okay.
So Illinois has just allowed the biodegradable cremation, I guess is what they are technically calling it. So that's basically turning you into soil.
Okay.
So that is a longer process. You can also do green burials. Green burials there's no casket involved, or at least it's a casket that will break down in the ground.
Okay.
There's no vault involved. There's no embalming done. So some cemeteries are now allowing that. So, for instance, Ascension, which is a huge cemetery in Libertyville,
yes,
they've just started allowing green burials. So we're essentially just putting you into the ground, and you're going to biodegrade.
So no embalming, no.
Yeah. Now there are sometimes stipulations. So you can't have a communicable disease. So like if you have hepatitis, AIDS,
right,
those type of things, they typically won't allow it. But just because they're afraid, they don't know what might happen. So they do have some stipulations on it. There's also there's aquamation.
Oh yeah, I read that on something. What the heck is that?
So that is cremation, but using no actual flame. You're using water. So essentially, we put you into it's a very large tank essentially.
I want to even know?
I know. Fill it with water. I mean, you're still cremated because what ends up happening with all cremation, what is left is really your bones. I mean, we always say ashes, as a vernacular, but you're really left with a combination of the ashes, but the bone is really what's really left. So that same thing happens with aquamation. It's just there's no direct flame used. So we just heat the water, and then it uses, I think it's magnesium flakes. That's what helps break down
Who invented that?
I don't know.
Somebody against
it's just a way to save some energy. It's not nearly as energy up front.
Okay.
and then the water just does go into the drain. Don't be worried. It's
Right.
it's clean. And to be honest, Cook County doesn't allow flame cremation anymore as far as buying a retort is what they're called. They don't allow you to buy a brand new one anymore. You have to use the aquamation. So if you're building a new one, they're like, you can't.
So, but if you have
grandfathered in, you
okay.
can still use it. But
wow.
yeah, and the city of Chicago actually prefers it because it's actually helping their water system. Because
Really?
it tends to clean the water's very clean, and also it's adding this magnesium that's cleaning the rest of the water too.
So many things I don't know. So many things I have no idea about. Okay, what was I just reading too? I was like, I know it's like I scroll through TikTok every once in a while, and remember the people burying or planting as trees.
So the tree thing, I mean, you're cremating usually first, and then it provides a pod that you put the cremains in.
Okay.
And then you plant the tree in the urn. And once it gets to a big enough state, you can go ahead and plant it all together. Okay. I know there's that one that was fairly popular that it was like your whole body, like as the seed. Yes. I was like, that's not going to happen in Illinois or anywhere in the United States. Because there's very strong, I get people who say, well, can't I just be buried on my own property?
Okay.
And, well, if you're on a farm outside the city limits, there's no regulation.
Okay.
But most of us live in the town, and the town is not going to let you just bury you.
You just can't go in the backyard.
You just can't go in the backyard and bury you.
And I'm sure there's a ton of rules and things like that that you never even think. I'm sure people still do it.
Oh, I'm sure cremains especially, yeah. But as far as burial, let's say you have a farm and you bury mom out there. Right. When you go to sell, you got to let them know, hey, mom's buried here.
Right.
So, and they can say, well, then I'm not buying it. You got to move mom, or I'm okay with it, but we got to mark where she's at and everything, and really label it.
Yeah, what a crazy thing. Okay, so the other things I was reading about all these different from cremate, like things have become more popular, more that people are doing more as time goes on, because we only have so much real estate, right?
We do, yeah.
And how many people are passing, and how much room is that a real thing? Like how much space?
I mean, kind of, but a lot of these cemeteries have purchased so much property that they're like, okay, we're going to make it work. Right. Mausoleums obviously are very common too with some of these cemeteries. They're like, look, we're running out of room. We're going to build a mausoleum. I can stack 5 people in a mausoleum on one space compared to, So some of these companies are doing that.
Wow. Yeah, and back to your job and things, it's like you really have to be, because no one's probably going to do anything the same way, because they maybe have different beliefs, and I'm sure you have people that don't care at all, and some people that are very specific on what they want, right?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of people who are very specific. Obviously, we dealt with a lot of different religions, like I said, Hindu, Catholic, Protestant, Baptist. We've had Buddhists.
Who's the easiest? Can I ask that?
Probably the Catholic and the Protestant, just because we know it so well. It's just part of how we do it. Hindu's very easy too, in the sense that they like to do it very succinctly. It's all taking in one place in one day, so those can be pretty easy too. But it just depends. Like some people are very detail oriented, where they want, hey, I want this specific song played at this specific time. I want everyone to take a rose at this particular time, and I want them to place it on the casket at this time. So there's definitely some of those where it's like, hey, this has got to happen, otherwise my mom's going to haunt me, or
Right. Yeah. Right. Interesting. Yeah, I bet I should probably think about that when I want. And for anybody that's older, if you're specific like that, once again, more of the reason to come see you and say, how do we take care of all this? Because I want this to go this way. Yeah. Let's make sure it does.
And sometimes the families are shocked. Like, we'll have, hey, your mom wrote down she wanted Over the Rainbow played. Really? Yeah.
Right, like I didn't know she listened to that.
I didn't know she liked that.
Right. She wants Tupac for what?
But Two Life Crew?
But it's good to have like that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it does help. So
So the prearranging thing, I think, is the thing that I take out of that we've actually done. That if you get that, it takes away a ton of stuff, right? Stress at the end.
Yeah, definitely takes away stress for the next of kin, the family, who's like, I know Dad prearranged it. I don't know what he did, but I know he prearranged it with you.
Right.
And it's like, well, this is what we can tell you exactly what he wanted.
Okay, so I had somebody ask too. My dad did it, and he came back, and it's very organized, so he has everything. So what if somebody did that, but you didn't? If they don't know, can they call you and be like, "Hey"?
We've got everything on file.
Okay.
So there are definitely times where people call us thinking that Dad prearranged it and prepaid for it, but he didn't.
Oh.
And it's kind of like, well, maybe Strang's up in Annie. So we start making phone calls
Sure.
around, and it's like, no, we don't got it. I was like, well, as far as we can tell, he didn't do anything with us. Hopefully you have some paperwork that shows you where he did it. Because, some people start to get dementia, and they think they did something, and they didn't do it, those type of things.
Right.
So.
Yeah, they think they did, and they didn't.
And there are a lot of these companies also where you have, like, cremation societies and things like that, where they don't have an actual physical office in an area where the deceased happen to live, but they may have prearranged with them. And it's like, unless you've got some paperwork to hopefully lead you the way, you can try calling around, but it's difficult,
Wow. So there too, you do everything from, because I've seen you guys like, we're talking about like full service everything, whether you have wake there and then you guys go to the cemetery and bring out and do all of that.
Yeah, everything is.
The extent of what you guys do and the how delicate you have to be with everything. Like every day you got to be on your toes, right?
Yeah, there's definitely. I mean, there are some days where it's like, oh, thank God we don't have much going on, so we can relax a little bit. But of course, even on our days off, usually you're doing a bunch of paperwork or facilitating other things for families. So, but yeah, there are definitely days where you're like, this is gonna be a long day.
Yeah, I'm sure. And then like you don't have a choice if you have a family coming in because you have to be their support system, right?
Yeah,
big deal. I think a lot of people take that for granted. Like DJing weddings, I can never have a bad day. You can't have a bad day, right? People are depending on us.
Yeah,
we'll be upset later, other than here. Okay, and I also want to say thank you to Strang for all of you guys give back to the community because you guys. Every time it seems like there's something you guys are involved in, so
thank you.
I appreciate that. I love people that give back and all and even the stuff you're doing at the Exchange Club is wonderful.
Yeah, thank you.
So I urge everybody to come check out the Exchange Club at the same time too.
Yeah,
it's a very cool.
I mean, it's a fun group. So and to be honest, it doesn't even feel like work as far as with them because most of the time I'm just goofing around, having fun, doing the tents, the craft beer fest, and stuff like that. So.
Yeah. And those are the things, and they kind of go along. You get to go to that, you get to help out with that, and then you're raising money for the scholarship fund, which gives back, and it's a fun experience too. And just like-minded people getting together, which I love. All right, what did we forget to mention? Do we got anything else we want the town to know?
I don't think so. We are going to have an event coming up. It's a very just casual event of coffee. Or hot chocolate if you want hot chocolate or tea.
Sure.
Just as a kind of a little intimate thing that we're going to put out on Facebook. Just if you want to kind of come in and kind of learn some things again about pre-need and prearranging.
I think that's really good. Having educational things like that is really good. So, hey, I mean, I follow 1,000 pages on Facebook and everything, too, so why not go over and is it Strang Grays Lake?
It's Strang, I think it's Strang Funeral Chapel is the Facebook page. I can't remember off the top.
Follow the Grays Lake one.
Yeah.
That's what we want to do.
Grays Lake one.
Not if there's anything wrong with anywhere else.
Funeral Chapel, not Funeral Home. Antioch's Funeral Home. We're Funeral Chapel.
Gotcha.
So there are definitely people who accidentally drive up to Antioch because they just use their GPS, and then they come in like, oh, we went to the Antioch one.
Yep. Sorry. No, that's cool. So, well, thank you. I appreciate everything you do for the community, and I appreciate it because we need people like you around to help out, and especially those really horrible times of need for everybody. So, I appreciate you.
Thank
and
you
you're a fun guy.
Yeah.
Yes, and
I try to be.
We'll have a couple tall Sammys. We should have had them before the show. That would have been great. So, thank you very much again, Grays Lake. Wherever you guys are listening, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. Whether you guys are listening on Spotify, whether you're on Apple, whether you're on iHeartRadio, YouTube, wherever you guys are listening, make sure to subscribe. That way, every Tuesday you'll be alerted of a new guest from Grays Lake that will be on. And as I always say, I urge you to listen to people that you don't know, because I think it's cool to know other people in our community, which I think brings everybody just a little bit closer together. And that's the reason we do the show. And as I always end, sorry, lots to talk about. We never know what our friends or family, anybody's going through, so get out there, do 1-2 different random acts of kindness today. Whether you're holding the door for somebody, be nice to the cashier or the waitress or wherever you're at. But kindness spreads like wildfire, so keep that up. I appreciate each and every one of you. Mark, thank you again. Grays Lake, thank you, and we'll see everybody next Tuesday.